the Honorable Mia Amor-Montley, Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Kay McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Senator, the Honorable Lisa Cummins, Minister of Tourism and International Transport, the Honorable David St. Ishmael, Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, the Honorable Corey Lane, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs and Member of Parliament, City of Barbados, His Excellency Yen Su-sheng, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Paul Altman, Chairman, Campus Council, Professor Clive Landis, Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Principal, Mr. Ramel Carter, Campus Registrar, Ms. Lisa Allen, Campus Bursar, Mr. Paul Innes, Executive Vice President and General Manager, Sagicor Life Inc., Barbados Operations, Mrs. Tricia Tanis, Chairman, Barbados Private Sector Association, Ms. Dr. Michelle Gittins, Head, Department of Computer Science, Mathematics, Physics, and Chair, Campus ICT Steering Committee, Mr. Justin Seal, UWI Assistant Registrar, BSc in Software Engineering Program in China, Deans and Heads of Departments, members of the campus community, representatives of the private sector, specially invited guests, members of the media, our online audience joining us via UWI TV from throughout the region, from Cayman Islands to Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us this evening for this special, the UWI in the City event. I've had the pleasure of chairing many events, but none with such a stunning backdrop. Unfortunately, the shades are a little bit closed this evening, but as we explore this absolutely fantastic building, you're going to see these brilliant backdrops of the Bridgetown and behind us this evening. I am Deputy Principal, Professor Winston Moore, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for this evening's event. Today, the UWI Private Sector Forum. In 1963, Barbados became home to the third campus of the UWI, at a temporary site near the Deepwater Harbor with just 118 students. Can you imagine that? In comparison, our 2020-2021 report to Council boasted an enrollment of 6,735 students across 7 faculties. And in case you didn't quite catch it when you came in this evening, I encourage you to visit our breathtaking photo retrospective and poster display outside of this auditorium and in the main foyer, which captures the mutual building throughout the years, as well as the campus's city origins. What a privilege it is to once again find ourselves situated in the UNESCO-designated historic Bridgetown. The reputation of the UWI is also at an all-time high. That is a fact. We are currently the #1 university in the Caribbean, ranked in the top 1.5% of universities worldwide and in the top 20 universities in Latin America and the Caribbean. With the growth in enrollment and expansion of the campus, we have also expanded the impact on our host country and beyond. Not only is our recent occupation of this auspicious building a testament to this physical expansion, but the agility and responsiveness of this fine institution during the COVID-19 pandemic allowed us to adapt and engage in new activities while expanding our digital reach into homes and businesses. In 2014, I was privileged to chair, I was asked to chair by the current Vice Chancellor, a small working group that investigated the economic impact of the UWI Cayfield campus. That report, for the first time, quantified the economic footprint of the UWI Cayfield campus. We estimated that the Cayfield campus annually generated approximately $200 million in additional economic activity, and an estimated $80 million in foreign exchange. This estimate focused solely on the quantifiable impact of the campus, but there are numerous non-quantifiable benefits that the UWI provides to Barbados and the region. These include warehousing of skills at the campus in areas such as health, law, arts, economics, just to name a few. Other benefits include contributions to national debates by our academics, training, research and innovation, and support for sports and athletes in the region, among other areas, all of which are key elements of national development. Today's event offers a dual opportunity to showcase our innovation and research to benefit our partners. And additionally, the centerpiece of the later discussion forum will feature a live interactive conversation around the BSc Software Engineering program. As you enter the foyer this evening, you would have passed through a multimedia exhibition which captures some of the sights and sounds of Innovate K-Phil. Some of the projects that are profiled have germinated through the Student Entrepreneurial Empowerment and Development, or SEED program, a student innovation initiative sponsored by CIBC First Caribbean. Other featured projects represent the work and ideas of the finalists in the recently concluded inaugural Innovate K-Phil competition, also sponsored by CIBC First Caribbean, which recognizes the rewards the innovation of staff at the K-Phil campus. We are also joined this evening by the winners of this competition, and I encourage you to have some conversations with them afterwards. The other focus of tonight's forum is the BSc Software Engineering program. This is a 4-year program where 2 years are spent here at the UWI K-Phil campus, and 2 years are spent at the Global Institute for Software Technology, or GIST, our partner institution in Suzhou, China. This promises to be an exciting exchange between our coordinators for the program, Dr. Michelle Gittins, who is based here at the K-Phil campus, and Mr. Justin Seal, our assistant registrar in Suzhou. They have assembled an impressive panel of enrolled students and alumni of the program, internship providers, and graduate employers, but you will hear much more about this later in the program. To formally welcome you to tonight's event, it is my pleasure to introduce Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal of the K-Phil campus, Professor Clive Landis.
Thank you, MC. The Honourable Mia Amor-Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honourable Kay McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Senator the Honourable Lisa Cummings, Minister of Tourism and International Transport, the Honourable Davidson Ishmael, Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, the Honourable Corey Lane, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs and Member of Parliament, City of Bridgetown, His Excellency Yen Shusheng, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Paul Altman, Chairman of the K-Phil Campus Council, Mr. Romel Carter, Campus Registrar, Ms. Lisa Erline, Campus Bursar, Mr. Paul Innes, Executive Vice President and General Manager, Sagicor Life Inclusive, Barbados Operations, Mrs. Tricia Tennis, Chairman, or Chair, I should say, Barbados Private Sector Association, Dr. Michelle Gittins, Head of the Department of Computer Science, Mathematics, Physics, and Chair of the ICT Steering Committee, Mr. Justin Seal, UWI Assistant Registrar in the BSc program in China in Software Engineering, Deans and Heads of Departments, members of the campus community, representatives of the private sector, specially invited guests, members of the media, the online audience, ladies and gentlemen. A very pleasant good evening, all. What a privilege it is for me to be able to welcome everyone on behalf of the University of the West Indies K-Phil campus to this inaugural private sector forum. I am especially pleased that we are gathered here in Bridgetown in the Old Mutual building, just a stone's throw from the campus's first temporary home, located in a warehouse at the Deepwater Harbour. I will leave it to Sir Hilary Beckles to expound on the ancestral roots of Cave Hill in Bridgetown. But we are conscious that the university's expansion into this beautiful teaching and tech hub in the center of town is happening simultaneously within the context of a broader redevelopment of our beloved capital city, something that our campus council chair, Sir Paul Altman, will speak on at tonight's event. The university wants to be a vital part of the redevelopment planned for the city to help attract and support the burgeoning knowledge economy in Bridgetown through training and innovation partnerships with the private sector. I am delighted and quite touched that the Prime Minister, the Honourable Mia Motley, along with several of her cabinet colleagues, in addition to the captains of industry, as represented by the Barbados Private Sector Association, have been able to find time in their busy schedules to attend this Cave Hill Private Sector Forum, the first of many. I stated at Campus Council earlier this month that the Cave Hill campus wishes to pursue its twin strategic objectives of exporting higher education services and driving innovation, and to do so in a totemic partnership with the government and the private sector, the so-called Triple Helix partnership that is the proven vehicle for driving innovation in the higher education sector, capable of developing products and services to compete in the global market space. I wish to thank Tricia Tennis, chair of the Barbados Private Sector Association, who leapt at the idea for the BPSA to partner with the UWI in this inaugural private sector forum, and I look forward to her remarks on how she wishes to develop this partnership. What I can promise from our standpoint is that this is only the first of many such engagements. We plan to host a private sector forum in the city every semester, in other words, twice a year, and intend to rotate through different industry sectors in order to seek out the partnerships and training opportunities to pair our academics and innovators with their counterparts in the private sector, all under the watchful eye and with participation by the relevant ministry to guide the Triple Helix synergy in every sector. I am also pleased that the two main benefactors who have allowed the UWI to make this move into the city are represented here tonight. Sagicor, that owns the iconic building, and the Chinese ambassador representing the government and people of the People's Republic of China that funded the stylish refurbishment that you can see around you. On behalf of the UWI Cave Hill campus and in front of this august gathering, I wish to say, for the record, thank you, Sagicor, and thank you to the People's Republic of China for your generosity. I am very pleased that Mr. Paul Innes, Executive Vice President and General Manager, Sagicor Life Inc., Barbados Operations, and Ambassador Yen Shusheng, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, are here tonight to bring remarks on this auspicious occasion. We have a very special surprise for you, Ambassador, with the simulcast taking place this evening in Bridgetown with breakfast in Suzhou, that is home to our Chinese partner, the Global Institute for Software Technology, with whom we teach the Bachelor of Science in Software Engineering. I hope you will enjoy hearing from our BSc students in the software engineering program, simultaneously from both sides of the world. I wish to close by describing how we plan to use the opportunity afforded by our new base of operations to develop a multi-purpose technological and training hub in the heart of Bridgetown. Some of the building will be devoted to traditional degree programs, but other spaces will be devoted to skills training and tech startup activity. A range of teaching spaces will be available for training, including this iconic conference room, and we will be listening to our partners in the government and private sector on exactly what types of short courses and professional development courses are immediately relevant to their needs. But the final and possibly most important piece of the puzzle is to establish an innovation center to help translate the flow of ideas emanating from the UWI staff and students into commercially viable products. The innovation center will be called Innovate Cave Hill and will be housed in the top floor of the building, which remains to be refurbished. The space is ideal, with rooms arranged around long corridors in a horseshoe shape that will encourage the intermingling between the UWI officers staffing the innovation ecosystem on the one hand and the budding entrepreneurs and technology startups on the other. The campus already hosts innovation competitions for both staff and students, some of whose laureates and inventions you saw displayed in the foyer. So the ideas base and innovation competitions exist within the university to bring forward the most promising innovations to enter the tech transfer funnel. The tech transfer funnel describes the joined-up innovation system that is well known in the higher education sector, but has been lacking up until now, and we are certainly looking to both the government and the private sector to assist us with their expertise and resources to bring our nascent inventions and business plans through the tech transfer funnel, to develop the necessary prototypes, to safeguard intellectual property rights for our inventors, to conduct market validations, and find the right investors and the right industry partners so that we can give birth to authentic startup companies and joint ventures born from Caribbean innovation. These plans to drive innovation capable of export are not only aligned with the national plan of Barbados and the university's strategic plan, they're also impatient for advancement. If there is a person or entity who shares this impatience and wishes to partner with us for around $500,000, we can begin refurbishing the third floor immediately to have Innovate Cave Hill ready to open its doors here in the city in time for the next private sector forum. On that hopeful note, Prime Minister, honorable ministers, ambassador, members of the Private Sector Association, and distinguished guests, let me conclude my remarks by once again thanking you for your support of Cave Hill at this auspicious moment in the evolution of the campus as we return to the heart of Bridgetown to build deeper relationships with the private and public sectors in the shared pursuit of innovation and development. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Principal. Now, if you tell someone, I will meet you by the Mutual Building in town, they immediately know where you mean. The legacy and the impact of the Mutual has echoed through generations. The Cave Hill campus, and indeed the wider UWI community, has enjoyed a long and illustrious partnership with every iteration of this storied company. It's therefore quite fitting that as the campus holds its first private sector forum in this wonderful historic building, that we have a representative of the Sagicor Financial Corporation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Paul Innes, Executive Vice President and General Manager, Sagicor Life Inc., Barbados Operations, to deliver remarks.
With protocol being established, I beg your indulgence and any forgiveness. So good evening. It is indeed my pleasure to be here with you this evening to represent Sagicor on this very exciting and auspicious occasion. I have the pleasure of working with an organization that prides itself on making and contributing positively to the communities and the societies in which it operates. In fact, for more than 181 years, Sagicor's vision has been to be a great company committed to improving the lives of those in the communities in which we operate. I can think of no better way to achieve this than investing in the future growth and development of the minds and skills of our people. This is why we are here today, as we at Sagicor have demonstrated our commitment to the continued development of Barbados through the provision of a suitable site to the University of the West Indies for the expansion of their learning facilities. In 1840, Sagicor Life was established here in Barbados as the Barbados Mutual Life, and I'm old enough to remember the Barbados Mutual Life Assurance Society. 5.5 decades later, in 1895, the Mutual building was erected here at Lower Broad Street. I'm not old enough to know that. And since then, has been home to the Mutual Life Assurance Society, the Mutual Bank, and the Bank of Butterfield. Today, this building comes alive and will be home to another important and what I'm sure will be a foundational pillar of the Bridgetown community and Barbados's future, UWI in the city. And we at Sagicor are delighted that a landmark structure erected more than 100 years ago, very early in our company's history, will now continue to play a pivotal role in the future development of this island and its people. Sagicor continues to demonstrate its commitment and support to the University of the West Indies, and we have done so through sponsoring many projects and initiatives aimed at improving the lives of students and faculty of the University of the West Indies. The Sagicor High Performance Center and the Sagicor Cave Hill School of Business are just two shining examples of this long-standing relationship. And based on the information we have received relative to the development of this UWI in the city, I'm confident that this facility will play a major role in the expansion of the University of the West Indies and its various programs. We at Sagicor, we are aware that significant investment has been made in converting this space into a teaching and research facility with global online reach and large face-to-face style classrooms and lecture theaters. The building is now considerably improved and can be considered the finest 21st century technology design building in the city. I'm sure Sir Hilary is very proud of that, which I think is very fitting given that after 181 years, Sagicor remains, and I would say, the Caribbean's finest financial services entity. So on behalf of the board of Sagicor Life, and I recognize some directors of Sagicor Life here, our group president and CEO, Mr. Dorridge Miller, who is unable to be here today, as well as the executive management and our teams at Sagicor, we wish to congratulate the leadership and the management and faculty of the University of the West Indies Open Campus on this endeavor, and we wish you success in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Innes. Tonight's forum speaks directly to the private sector community. The Cave Hill campus greatly values all of its partnerships with this sector and the expanding opportunities to engage with existing partners and cultivate new relationships as we look towards the revenue revolution. Now, at this stage in our cycle, we are looking for partnerships, and we have someone that has partnered with us already in relation to organizing this event. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Tricia Tanis, Chairman, Barbados Private Sector Association, to deliver remarks.
A very warm good afternoon. I was going to start with an ice-breaking joke, but given recent events, that may be a very dangerous pursuit, so I will just jump right into my remarks. Good evening. It is my distinct pleasure, particularly as I belong to the distinguished ranks of the UWI alumni, to join with the officials of the UWI and the People's Republic of China, other stakeholders and invited guests to be part of this launch ceremony, marking the opening and expansion of UWI in the city. As chairman of the Private Sector Association, I bring special congratulations from our board and other associations and member associations as well, specifically the Barbados Agricultural Society, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Barbados International Business Association, Barbados Manufacturers Association, the Barbados Bankers Association, the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, the Small Business Association, the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries, the Barbados Employers Confederation, and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados. And of course, our independent directors who are esteemed private sector leaders in their own right. I have taken the time to go through this list to convey the breadth of the private sector who welcome UWI's presence in the city. And as you know, the head office of Unicomar Barbados is just around the corner, and in my capacity of managing director of that entity, I am indeed your next door neighbor, and I also take the opportunity to welcome you in that regard. Let me join with the other speakers in acknowledging this launch today as another important milestone for our city. We are hopeful that this development will further support the recommendation to declare the entire environs of Bridgetown under the provisions of the Special Development Areas Act. This recommendation has been put forward based on the view that there needs to be an effort of sustained redevelopment, transformation, and revitalization of Bridgetown as an economic center of activity. Continuing on through the lens of the private sector, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry has for some time posited that Bridgetown, to be promoted as the city that never sleeps. Of course, this was subject to the necessary actions to be taken under events such as the COVID-19 pandemic, but the concept subscribes to the view that there needs to be a major injection of investment in its capital, no pun intended, Bridgetown, to keep it alive. Your presence in the city must therefore be regarded as further confidence and confirmation in the importance of Bridgetown to future economic activity and national development. The UWI has over the years been a catalyst of change and development for the educational, social, and economic spheres of our nation. Indeed, the graduates of the UWI have played a major part in the development and success of our nation, and by extension, the city Bridgetown, from the time of its first graduates. The private sector is well populated in every sector in Barbados with UWI graduates from all campuses in the region. We take the time to applaud the innovative thought of Sir Hilary for the city location of the UWI, for the reasons that I'm sure he will so comprehensively outline. And I wrote those comments were made independent of the comments expressed by the earlier speaker. We also acknowledge the role of Professor Landis and the team of persons who had responsibility for its implementation, whom we celebrate today, and bringing vision to reality must never be underestimated. We also compliment the success to attain partnership with the People's Republic of China to achieve what is on display. Professor Landis has signaled the intention of this location not only being another distinguished center of learning in Barbados, and has expressed its aim to build even closer ties with the private sector going forward. There is a well-known phrase, the past does not equal the future, and how applicable for us today as we gather together to mark this important occasion and to participate in this launch event. The historical significance of this location as a private sector icon in the past is not lost on us. While it is not my intention to dive into the annals, we cannot help but remember that this building was noted for its commercial purpose and for its functionality and wealth creation in this country, albeit for an elite few. I have publicly stated on a prior occasion that while sustainability in profits is indeed the first principle of any business endeavor, its pursuit cannot taint the profound responsibility of employers to ensure that there's a share of those earnings allocated to the persons whose labor was given to achieve them, nor does it exempt the sector from achieving their fiscal goals in the most socially conscientious manner. It is with this in mind that I go further today and state that it would be a tremendous achievement if in a few years from now we could look back at this date and celebrate it as the start of a new thrust of wealth creation in Barbados, not for a select few, but the majority of our population. How appropriate it would be for the UWI, as it did years ago with making tertiary education more accessible to a nation of people, to lead the education process of wealth creation and generation that is broad-based and accessible to a wide cross-section of people from all walks of life. As we face an uncertain future, the value of re-examining the concept of capital when speaking of business to one that better conveys the concept of inclusion of all involved in business should be heavily weighted and prioritized. Such an approach would narrow the gap or the perceived gulf between employers and employees, between labor and capital. In looking forward, the better view for the future we would all want to have is to have persons attached to business establishments, large or small, sophisticated or unsophisticated, to have a view and expectation of capital ownership. The capital ownership participation would result in a paradigm shift towards personal accountability for success that would redound to a national awakening in our customer service orientation, efficiency, and productivity across this country. The opportunity to be engaged with the UWI and other key stakeholders to consult and agree on how better to tackle and address traditional mindsets with respect to the concept of owners of capital to bring out a more modern and inclusive reality is one that we look forward to. Consideration must always also be given to the fact that to fully enfranchise the people of our nation, new educational pipelines must be forged so that competence in emerging sectors and employment opportunities naturally fall within the average Barbadian grasp and not imported on a sustained basis. We therefore acknowledge and applaud the new and highly relevant programs to come, such as the BSc Software Engineering, to be unveiled later in this program. I would also like to advance a recommendation that in the very near future, regardless of department or program choice, each student of UWI should be required to undertake at least one subject dealing with wealth creation and financial management. This must be a core preparation of young minds to lead the growth and development, not only for themselves, but for our nation. We have done it with mathematics and statistics and with the use of English, and so we know precedent has been set. It is also not lost on us that access to undergraduate studies in the core functionality of engineering is critical to a nation that promotes STEM and which needs to retain its best solutions-oriented minds as part of its national development. We therefore laud the launch of the undergraduate studies in software engineering here today, but also posit that it is high time to offer mainstream undergraduate engineering degrees at the Cave Hill campus, even as we grapple with increasingly poor math scores across the region at the CSEC level. And I don't know how many of you know that 41% of students across the region passed CSEC maths in 2021, 52% in 2020, 46% in 2019, 49% in 2021. Last year was definitely a 4-year low. The fact that the majority of our regional cohorts are failing mathematics is an issue that is very, very serious. We certainly cannot progress with STEM and STEAM in terms of our national development if this is the kind of result we're getting at the age of 16 years old. We need to remediate that urgently. The concept of the private sector being the driver of growth of the small island state must be tweaked to embrace the concept of each and every one, whether in the public or private sector, having a role to play in the growth of our nation. It can no longer be an us and them situation as it relates to creating economic enfranchisement. As a country, we have worked hard to build awareness of tourism being everybody's business. We have to go further now and educate all of us on the important part that we all play to realize the growth needed as we battle the challenges of maintaining our existence in the years to come at the standards that we benchmark ourselves against. In closing, thank you once again for the opportunity to be part of this very interesting and progressive signal from the UWI that it does not intend for it to be business as usual. As you pivot towards the future, so will the private sector pivot with you. Thank you very much for your indulgence.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tanis. We are looking forward very much to continuing our partnership with the Barbados Private Sector Association and with the private sector generally. I also want to take this opportunity to appeal to any and all private sector entities tuned in to our forum this evening. It may be easy to be of the view that the university is only interested in those businesses that may be considered major private sector entities. But tonight, I want to assure you that micro, small, medium-sized enterprises, they all have a place at the Cave Hill campus. The campus has already embraced many of these micro and small businesses already. Many of these entities have already generously donated to our scholarships, bursaries, and awards for students at the Cave Hill campus. And just by the way, next week, Tuesday, April the 5th at 7 p.m., we'll have a award ceremony, a virtual award ceremony for our students that are receiving these awards. And I invite each and every one of you to tune in. And again, this is another way that the private sector has been generously giving back to the UWI Cave campus. And so therefore, you don't have to be a major corporation to give back to the UWI. And similarly, for individuals, you can also give back to the UWI as well. So tonight, we are launching UWI in the city. And there is someone here who appreciates the importance of location, location, location. Ladies and gentlemen, a pillar of the local private sector community in his own right, please welcome the chairman of the CAFL Campus Council, Sir Paul O. Altman.
It's not often that I get to speak in front of such a prominent list of invitees and important attendees, including, of course, led by the Prime Minister. So if I may not just make a blanket statement on the protocol list, but maybe shorten it slightly by recognizing the Honourable Mia Amor-Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, and the Honourable Kay McConney, Honourable Lisa Cummins, Honourable Corey Lane, members of Cabinet, His Excellency Xu Sheng, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Clive Landis, Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Principal, Mr. Paul Innes, Executive Vice President and General Manager, Sagicor Life, Inc., Barbados Operations. Of course, the Chairman of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Ms. Tricia Tanis. Representatives of the private sector, especially invited guests, members of the media, online audience, ladies and gentlemen. And I didn't sort of go through the list of the university members present, but if I could just refer to them as a very important part of this occasion, because this is all about the university. So I'm sure they will forgive me for not going through that list on an individual basis. Good evening. This evening's occasion for me is more than a simple welcome back to our Bridgetown campus. It is the bringing together of two independent bodies, our university and our business community, in order to demonstrate how dependent we really are on each other. Allow me to congratulate our private sector, again, Ms. Trish Tanis and our Cave Hill team, headed by Principal Clive Landis, for making this evening happen. We have collaborated in the past, but tonight is different. We need each other more than ever now. In many countries, towns literally thrive around universities, which feed life and money into supporting the surrounding business community. So I believe that this evening signals a step in that direction. Of course, it would be remiss of me to proceed without singling out and thanking Sagicor. Of course, we refer to it as an iconic building, and indeed, the memories of this building, I know that it was said that some people are old enough to remember certain parts of Sagicor. Certainly the representative, Paul Innes, made that comment, but I may go back a little further. I don't go back to the 1890s, but I certainly go back to a time when I remember this building functioning in a different capacity, and I think it's an extremely important building, and certainly from Sagicor's point of view, that they were kind enough to make it available to the university. I speak on behalf of the university when I want to officially offer a vote of thanks and recognition to Sagicor for doing so. The Universities of the West Indies is leading the way towards the revitalization of our capital city. Over the past 20 to 30 years, Bridgetown has literally emptied out. It became a ghost town as businesses moved to the suburbs. I can surely say that from the main street, which is Broad Street, which we face, to Hink Street behind us, and in so many other ways, empty properties remain, many of them with for sale signs. It seemed as though our capital had lost its soul. But all is not lost. As Barbados recovers from financial, economic, and social pain, a new wave of entrepreneurial minds has taken an interest in recapturing our cities and towns. Barbados's millennials are joining forces with digital nomads and others from overseas in a new work ethic which allows them to work remotely. Indeed, the past 2 years has seen a revolution in terms of what younger generations want out of life. And as they seek to find balance in their professional and personal lives, they endeavor to work more from home, to work, live, and play from a single location. And Bridgetown offers all of the above and more. Alluding to the theme of revolution, allow me to quote from a book which I just can't seem to put down, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, first published in 2011. And I quote, "Over the last 2 centuries, the pace of change became so quick that the social order acquired a dynamic and malleable nature. It now exists in a state of permanent flux. Today, even a 30-year-old can honestly tell disbelieving teenagers, when I was young, the world was completely different. The internet, for example, came into wide usage only in the 1990s, over 30 years ago. Today, we cannot imagine the world without it. The coming together of the university and the business community here tonight demonstrates that they are aware of what current and future generations will expect. Allow me to share a vision for Bridgetown. Some 10 years ago, I wrote an article for Business Barbados which was titled, "The Next Wave of Development, Redevelopment." I suggested that the best opportunities for the new developments are within our towns, under the banner of redevelopment. Our 4 waterfront towns are just begging for revitalization, and this has begun. Of course, Bridgetown offers the best opportunity. Prime Minister Motley has outlined her vision for Carlisle Bay, which suggests a most impressive redevelopment of the area from Bridgetown to the Hilton. And we just happen to have with us this evening the investor behind the Pierhead project, Mr. Neville Isdell, former chairman of Coca-Cola. An important signature of the Pierhead is affordable accommodation targeting digital nomads. The live, work, and play theme will set the tone for Bridgetown to become a 24-hour metropolis. In 2014, Dr. Henderson Carter from the University of the West Indies delivered the National Cultural Foundation lecture on Bridgetown, our cosmopolitan city of commerce and culture. He said, "We want the private sector to come out and see it as an investment, not throwing money in a hole." I hope that Mr. Isdell sort of recognizes that this now is the right time. I'm sure he does. Dr. Carter made reference to the Screwdock, a historical part of the Pierhead, which he said should be fully restored as a part of the country's heritage tourism thrust. Thus, in 2014, we had a historian linked to the university speaking about revitalizing Bridgetown. Tonight, the university is directly involved in this process. Bridgetown will come alive again. The eyes of Barbados are watching. UNESCO is watching. Other investors are watching. Our neighbors are watching, including our neighbor to the west, the Barbados Tourism Investment Incorporation, in which is housed in the old town hall, which was carefully restored many years ago. I should mention that the BTI has been tasked with the job of guiding the overall revitalization efforts for Bridgetown. The University of the West Indies is proud to play a part bringing life back into the city. It has always had a close relationship with the private sector. Tonight serves as a demonstration of our university's commitment, again, to be a leader. The Cave Hill campus is just 1 mile away from where we are here, but tonight we are gathered in our capital city, in Bridgetown. What a difference 1 mile makes. I thank you.
You might be wondering why Sir Paul isn't wearing a tie, and the reason for that is because I'm wearing his tie. True story. So thank you very much, Sir Paul Altman, for those remarks. Your sage advice and unwavering commitment to the success of this campus has undoubtedly helped to fashion the proverbial tip of the spear throughout your tenure and has gone a long way towards helping to optimize our business opportunities wherever they exist. Now, the Vice Chancellor of this great university has led the push to have the UWI assessed by Times Higher Education, as well as for us to commercialize our research. He's a man who ventures into the trenches in the name of this institution to ensure that our students receive the most affordable and intellectually unparalleled education available. At the UWI, we believe that the tertiary education is not only a privilege, but a right. All of these values converge to create an environment where both staff and students exercise good and sound stewardship over all opportunities and resources that the institution provides. It's my honor to introduce Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies.
I have been told to historicize, which is always a dangerous thing because since the passing of Fidel, there has been a vacancy for the 5-hour speech. It's a Caribbean technology we do not wish to lose. And all of us have been practicing, but not tonight. Our honorable and distinguished Prime Minister, Mayor Motley, our distinguished Minister of Education, Kay, and Tourism, Lisa, other ministers, Sir Paul, and Paul, and my colleague, Sagicor, His Excellency, our distinguished ambassador, the people to Barbados. I wish to recognize also Dr. Shea Corbin, consultant, and all of our distinguished colleagues of the private sector. We have always stood close by. In fact, not realize that this is the most fantastic investment by flow in the UWI. That flow has provided our university with a 24/7 cable channel. We are the only university in the world with a national and regional cable television channel. Don't take it for granted, Ms. Vice. And thank you, Flo, for that investment. Our Prime Minister is in the House, and we do not take that for granted. We know that she has been traveling all over the world. She came back, she had cabinet today, and she's here this evening. Oftentimes when people who care about me say, Hillary, you must slow down. I said, well, how can I slow down? I'm following my prime minister. And then comes the answer, but she's a young woman. We are here today to celebrate the reality of science fiction. We are a republic. All issues that were beyond the imagination, But hard work, leadership, those unimagined realities are now the norm. And we are in this building, which was the monument of the sugar producers of this country. And allow me to say at this moment, Minister, Prime Minister, I support your sugar tax. We have been made addicted to sugar by 300 years of consuming what we produce. We produce sugar, and we consumed it. And now we are sick, addicted. This mutual society, established in 1840 and thereabout, was created out of the compensation money for slavery. Barbados received, the Barbados sugar planters, the Barbados slave owners receive a handsome share, about 20%, of the compensation money for slaves. And out of that compensation money emerged the Barbados Mutual. It was built and constructed, therefore, upon a specific history of the conversion of black people into property, non-human, chattel, and real estate. And when compensated, emerged this corporation. This building was constructed to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that process. And so this building became the monument to racism and apartheid in Barbados. It is not a coincidence, therefore, that in the 1937 rebellion, when the workers of this country rose up for democracy and freedom, that the first black person killed in that rebellion was killed on the doorsteps of this building. But then came the democracy movement again, and the mutual affair of the 1980s and 1990s. And we were able to transition that history of darkness into the future of enlightenment. And out of that came Sagicor, the magnificent financial leader of this nation, of this region. Sagicor, the finest, most successful financial institution in this region, emerging from such a history. There are many directors of Sagicor who are here and other managers, Mr. Ennis. That is a journey, that is a story worth telling. And the leader of all of this was Mr. Dulridge Miller, the president and CEO of this company. There are very few people in the world who are given the opportunity to convert structures of oppression into structures of liberation. And this is what Mr. Miller has achieved for the people of Barbados and the Caribbean. Because not only must you conceptualize it, imagine and do it, you must also do it well and successfully. Because if you failed, history would be harsh. And Mr. Miller has undoubtedly been the most successful financial services entrepreneur in this Caribbean in our lifetime. It is not surprising, therefore, that Sagicor is the leading financial investor in our University of the West Indies. We have come to rely upon Sagicor and all of our campuses. In Barbados at Cave Hill, they invest heavily. Mona and Jamaica, St. Augustine. Their philanthropy has had a tremendous impact on the prosperity of our university. And now, their ancestral headquarters, this mutual building, is now the center of tremendous educational possibilities. And we are proud to have in our principal, Professor Landis, who understands not only the moment, but the significance, and who wishes to drive through with the knowledge economy and the role of science and technology and innovation in building out a postmodern Barbados. I wish to recognize, before I close, Dr. Shea Corbin, who's here. Some years ago, when the President of China visited with us at CARICOM, and the CARICOM-China Treaty was signed, within that treaty were provisions for science and technology exchange. Having read that treaty, I was on the plane to China to ask the government of China if the University of the West Indies can be the implementer of that treaty. And so we went to CARICOM. CARICOM gave us the green light, and we were off to China to meet with the government of China to say that the University of the West Indies wishes to be an implementer of the wishes of the President of China. Ambassador, I can say to you that we receive a red carpet treatment when we arrived in China to meet with the Education Minister of China. And they made arrangement for us to meet with many universities, and in the end, we settled on the Suzhou Institute for Technology to work with us to deliver a 4-year program in software engineering, 2 years at the UWI and 2 years at the Suzhou Institute. And the reason why the Suzhou Institute was suggested to us so powerfully because it was in the middle of the Suzhou Technology Park, which is the equivalent of Silicon Valley in the US. And here, the University of the West Indies is now partnering a joint institution with our name on the building in the Suzhou Technology Park. And we thank the government for honoring that commitment for CARICOM, because we recognize that software engineering was going to be the future for young people, the digital transformation, the modernization, the knowledge economy, and UWI went out on the frontier to achieve that objective. And I know that, Minister McConney, I know you're going to be very excited to work with us in building out not only the software technology, the online technology, but the global campus, which is now in front of us as the next major innovation of our university. And so I thank Sagicor, Mr. Miller and his team, his directors, for the sacrifice that they have made on our behalf. This building was rented out to many financial institutions. And so when Sagicor took the decision to make this building available to the University of the West Indies and therefore to forego rental revenue, it was a very significant contribution to the young people of this region and to this country. So we cannot thank them enough. So, Principal, I join with you in commending all of the participants to this moment. We believe that this is moving in the right direction for national development, youth upliftment, and creating a new sense of energy and hope, not only in the city, but also in our country, as our Prime Minister leads us into a future of confidence, where, as a people, we have a global vision, we have no doubt about our capacity to develop ourselves, to own our future. Let this building, therefore, be a symbol. And I don't know, I'm told that because it's a heritage building and it has, therefore, certain constraints, that we cannot put up a big gold sign that says, City Campus, University of the West Indies. I do hope that there will be an exception to the heritage rules so that we don't have to have a small little tiny sign that you cannot see it unless you're in front of it. It would be wonderful to celebrate the UWI in Bridgetown, in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor is always telling us about this 5-hour lecture. So this week he also launched his new book, How Britain Underdeveloped the Caribbean. And I was at that book launch. And he was invited to give some remarks about the book. And I thought he was going to go to the podium because there was a really nice podium on the stage. But I saw the Vice Chancellor instead, he went to take a seat. I thought, this is interesting, giving remarks while sitting down. At the 3-hour mark, I then realized why he took a seat. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, he's going for the 5-hour lecture. But he saved us. He stopped at around 3-4 hours, and we were then allowed to then ask him some questions. So I think he has the stamina. I think he has the capacity to do that 5-hour lecture, and we're just waiting for it. So thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. This building houses the UWI China Institute of Information Technology and was redeveloped with the assistance of the People's Republic of China. It's therefore only fitting that the inaugural forum is being hosted in this auditorium dedicated to the academic partnership that's birthed the BSc Software Engineering program and facilitated seamless exchange between these two countries and cultures. It's now my pleasure to introduce His Excellency Yang Sushang, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, to deliver remarks. Ambassador?
Thank you, Professor Moore. The Honorable Mia Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados. The Honorable K. McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. Senator, the Honorable Lisa Cummings, Minister of Tourism and International Transport. The Honorable Davidson Ismail, Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology. The Honorable Corey Lane, Parliament Secretary in the Ministry of People, Empowerment and Elder Affairs. Professor Sir Hilary Beckers, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. Sir Paul Altman, Chairman, Cape Hill Campus Council. Professor Clive Landis, Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal. Mr. Zormo Carter, Campus Registrar. Ms. Lisa Allen, Campus Bursar. Mr. Paul Innes, Executive Vice President and General Manager, Sagicor Life, Inc., Barbados Operations. Mrs. Chaser Tennis, Chairman, Barbados Private Sector Association. Dr. Michelle Gittens, Head Department of Computer Science, Mathematics and Physics, and Chair, Campus ICT Steering Committee. Mr. Justin Siu, UWI Assistant Registrar, BSc in Software Engineering Program in China. Deans and heads of department, members of the campus community, representatives of private sector, specially invited guests, members of the media, online audience, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. A long list. It is my great pleasure to be invited to this ceremony and forum. First of all, I would like to extend my warm congratulations on the launch of UWI Cape Hill Campus, City Campus, in this historical Sagicor Mutual Building, which houses UWI China Institute of Information Technology. Thanks to the collaboration between the Global Institute of Software Technology, Suzhou, China, and UWI Cape Hill Campus 8 years ago. Of course, I want to thank you, Sir Beckus, the founder of this institute. The UWI China Institute of Information Technology has been established and settled down in this grand building. During the past years, the UWI CIIT has provided a platform for Caribbean young people pursuing higher education in the area of information technology. I am delighted to learn that those young people have played an active role in private sector after their graduation from this program. Along with the economic recovery, I believe the transformation of Sagicor Mutual Building, now the UWI Cape Hill Campus, City Campus, into a multipurpose technological hub in the heart of Bridgetown, will make greater contribution to the sustainable development of Barbados by fostering an innovation-driven economy. Dear friends, for many years, we are proud to be a partner with the UWI Cape Hill Campus in delivering the Chinese language teaching, software engineering program, joint efforts with the Confucius Institute and other academic and social projects. This year marks the 45th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations between China and Barbados. We are inspired to further strengthen the cooperation in such areas as economic and trade, culture, education, agriculture, and healthcare. Barbados is China's good friend and good partner in the Caribbean. For the past 45 years, the two countries have witnessed constant high-level exchanges and fruitful cooperation. On July the 13th last year, President Xi Jinping had a phone conversation with Prime Minister Mia Mottley, during which both leaders commended highly on China-Barbados' long-lasting friendship, exchanged views on our bilateral relations and international affairs of common concern, reached consensus extensively, and pointed out the direction of continuous development of bilateral relations to the higher level. I would like to highlight some of the achievements and benefits in economic, social, and cultural areas while reviewing the journey of friendship in the past 45 years between the two countries and the two peoples. In economic area, in 2021, the total bilateral trade volume between China and Barbados hit $500 million, a year-on-year increase of 230.5%. By the end of the year of 2020, China is the 7th largest source of imports of Barbados. The St. Lord's Castle Hotel project is scheduled to provide service to tourists across the world this year. A framework agreement on the concessional loan to the Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Project was signed last month, which will save $85 million for Barbados in light of the extremely low interests. In social area, China has provided significant financial and material assistance to Barbados since 1977. The assistance came here without any strings attached, with help the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium, which was built in 1992 and rehabilitated 4 times from then on. The Sandyford Center and the Cheapside Market were renovated. Recently, the 2 assistance projects aimed at enhancing food security of Barbados, which are the Center for Food Security Project and the Hope Agriculture Training Institute project, kicked off. Upon the signing of agriculture cooperation between China's Hunan province and the Ministry of Agriculture and Food and Nutritional Security, 2 vegetable greenhouses will be built in Barbados. Around 30 training workshops for Barbados were hosted by China since 2014, providing professional training to Barbadians in the area of e-commerce, specific agriculture techniques, tourism, and trade. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, China and Barbados have put together and jointly overcome the difficulties. China donated 30,000 doses of vaccines and 15 batches of PPE to Barbados. We also organized a webinar twice between the top Chinese frontline medical expert teams and their counterparts in Barbados. Since 2017, China has sent 5 medical teams to Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The Chinese team helped with health care to more than 4,000 Barbadians per year. In culture area, more than 80 Chinese government scholarships were granted to Barbadian young people to study in Chinese universities. Confucius Institute of the West Indian University Cave Hill campus has done excellent work to provide language and culture courses for Barbadians. The 2022 Fish and Dragon Festival, held in this January, was the 8th festival co-hosted by Chinese Embassy and Barbados Central Bank. Thanks to CBC and other social medias, it reached out 1.5 million audience across the world. China has also provided laptops, projector, and other teaching supplies to help the local school with online education since the outbreak of COVID-19. Dear friends, both China and Barbados adhere to putting the people first. China stands ready to take the 45th anniversary as an opportunity to further expand cooperation in all fields and push China-Barbados relations to a new level. In order to consolidate the practical bilateral cooperation, I would like to underscore 2 initiatives proposed by China. The first one is the Belt and Road Initiative. Despite the impact of the pandemic and other factors, Belt and Road Cooperation with a family of 180 members, Barbados included, has maintained a sound momentum over the past year, providing a strong boost to economic recovery in relevant countries. Continuing working on a joint vaccine production with 20 developing country partners, and having carried out a large number of assistance programs to help people in partner countries improve income and livelihood. The second initiative is the Global Development Initiative. It is against the backdrop of COVID-19 that President Xi Jinping proposed the GDI and the UN Assembly last year, calling on all countries to focus on development, pool their efforts, and meet challenges together. The centerpiece of the GDI is to put people front and center. Its primary goal is to facilitate the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Highly responsive to the needs of various parties, the GDI has soon been warmly received and supported by the UN and nearly 100 countries. China will work with all parties in 4 areas to implement the GDI step by step. First, forging synergy in priority area. China will focus on the most pressing concerns of developing countries and advance practical cooperation in such areas as poverty reduction, food security, economic recovery, employment, training, education, health, and green development, so that all 17 sustainable development goals will be met by 2030 as scheduled. Second, responding to the needs of all countries, China will follow the spirit of open and inclusive partnership and the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. China welcomes the participation of all parties in flexible ways in light of their needs and strengths. Third, partnering with cooperation mechanisms. China will work with all interested international and regional organizations, and especially the UN system, to seek complementary with the development process of small island developing states, landlocked developing countries, and least developed countries. This way, China could give play to the respective strength of various parties and forge a global synergy. Fourth, reaching out to partners of all sectors China values the role of the private sector, NGOs, experts, think tanks, and the media in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. China welcomes the recommendation and participation of all parties. Dear friends, the year of 2022 is the year of Tiger in Chinese lunar calendar. It symbolizes bravery and strength. This year, China has embarked on a new journey to build a modern socialist country in all respects and to realize the second centenary goal. This year is also the first year of Barbados being a republic. We ushered in the 45th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Barbados. Facing the challenges of COVID-19, climate change, and all other challenges of the times, China is duty-bound to help our friends in need, continuing to strengthen cooperation with Barbados in all rounds. I firmly believe that the bright future of our two countries could be achieved, and the deep friendship between our two peoples could be consolidated with the joint efforts from both of our two countries. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And I also want to thank you on behalf of the university for all of the work and all of the contributions that you've made to the UWI Cayfield campus. Now, our next speaker is known for challenging that 5-hour lecture that the Vice Chancellor spoke about earlier. The Honorable Mia Moore-Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, is also Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs and Investment, Minister of National Security and Public Service. She joins us this evening, fresh from delivering the inaugural lecture in the WTO's Presidential Lecture Series, where she presented on reinventing the global order. And subsequently, she personally led the delegation to an expo in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, delivering a riveting address for Barbados National Day under the theme from sugarcane to blockchain. She doesn't know this as yet, but that is probably going to be the title of our next article together. We are pleased to have her with us amid this whirlwind travel schedule. It's therefore my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Mia Moore-Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished guests all. When I asked Sir Hilary what I should speak on, he said I can do and say whatever I feel like. I would only say to him before I start that on the few occasions that I have spoken for 5 hours or more, it was not with the luxury of being able to sit, but I had to stand. And therefore, I will look forward to his standing and delivering in future. Honestly, I could not miss today. And I couldn't because this building and the repurposing of this building is at the center of what this government has been seeking to do for the last few years. And therefore, when asked in summary, or if I were to be asked in summary, what I would want to talk about, it would simply be about innovating so that we may thrive as a people and as a nation, repurposing old buildings, repurposing an old economy. Now, why would I say so? Because what is happening here in Lower Broad Street is not an isolated act. I want to thank the government and people of China, and I want to thank Sagicor, in particular at the outset, for their commitment and for their belief in understanding, one, that we must repurpose an whole economy into innovation, and two, that we must repurpose old buildings for current and modern purposes. The reality is that this building, like the other building at the other end of Broad Street, was both an instrument of oppression and now is a tool of empowerment, as you heard from Sir Hilary. And it is therefore fitting that at this end of Broad Street, that we can do that which was done at the other end of Broad Street upon the attainment of independence, formally as a nation in 1966, but started much earlier with the establishment of universal adult franchise, with the legislation passed in 1950 for our people for the first time to be able to vote without property qualifications in 1951. Since coming to office, the government has literally been committed to the concept of repurposing old buildings and repurposing an old economy. For our parliamentary republic last year, we were able to present to the people of this nation the space of Golden Square. Hitherto, Golden Square was a footnote in a history book for most Barbadians, and they did not appreciate that, in the words of Derek Walcott, a culture, we all know, is made by its cities. In the midst of this city was the one location that is responsible for the creation of modern Barbados as an equitable and free society. And to the extent that we have invested and taken an old building that was derelict, I refer for those who are not Barbadian, the old National Insurance Building, derelict for many, many years in the center of our town, and we were able to remove it, and we now have a wonderful monument to Barbados's democracy, fought for and claimed by the people of this nation. But that is not all. We also took the early decision that the conditions under which the persons who come to work each and every day to ply their trade, that they should not be required to do so in circumstances beneath what is acceptable for us in the best conditions and precepts of public health. And to that extent, one of the first projects undertaken by the government in conjunction with the Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. and the Urban Development Commission was the reconstruction of vending stalls at the Fairchild Street Market. Phase 1 has been completed. The Butcher's Block in Phase 2 is being completed, as well as the stalls to the front of the road now, which are being built to complete that process of the Fairchild Street Vending Mall. But it doesn't stop there. We also, as a first act, took Temple Yard and ensured that the people of Temple Yard would have access to electricity and water, for which they were deprived for years. And it speaks once again to the equity and to the inclusiveness that this government requires in being able to ensure that all Barbadians be given a chance of being able to share in this society that is our own. The government has already signaled its intention to be able to ensure that the rest of Bridgetown, yes, can come alive. And we didn't wait for anyone to do that, because we recognize, as we've said from the beginning, that it is not just about business, but it is about people being able to live in Bridgetown, work in Bridgetown, govern in Bridgetown. And it is for that reason I am so happy that the Parliament of Barbados is functioning again, such that the members of Parliament can function from the capital city after a 2-year hiatus. The Treasury building has already gone out to tender for a request for proposals. And why? Because we see that building as integral to the process of young people being able to live in town again, not necessarily being persons who might only be attracted to the higher price product that will come on what will come to be regarded as a new platinum mile, that of from Pierhead to Hilton, that of the Carlisle Bay, which represents perhaps one of the most magnificent beaches to be found anywhere in the world, and certainly in the Eastern and Southern Caribbean. But it isn't only for the Treasury building to have young people live in it. We believe that if we are going to be serious about repurposing this economy, just as this building is committed to the task of being a center for innovation, that the Treasury building and other buildings in Bridgetown must be a center for fintech, for creativity, for the new experiments, whether they be in crypto or DAOs or all of the other things that are coming now to occupy the financial services market globally, and that are literally a blend of finance and technology, but with a view to democratizing access across the world. If we are therefore to be true to our heritage as a capital city, we more than most know what it is to take a history of oppression and to transform it into a platform of innovation and empowerment. And it is against this backdrop that the story that we tell architecturally in Bridgetown must reflect also the journey that we want economically for our country. I spoke about Temple Yard. I spoke about the Fairchild Street Market. But I can equally speak about the larger investments, as I said, on the Platinum Mile, moving from the Pierhead, and we're happy to have Mr. Isdell here, who expressed his confidence in the future of this country by ensuring that he purchased those properties on the Pierhead to do for the Pierhead in Bridgetown what he has been able to do for EPIC and the history and legacy of the people of Ireland in Ireland by ensuring that that investment has become the #1 tourism attraction in the European Union. Similarly, we go to the announcements that the government has made and the funding which has been put in place for us to be able to make Queen's Park the cultural hub of Bridgetown. Few people know that when the decision was taken to put the National Cultural Foundation at West Terrace, it was a temporary site. And what was a temporary site, regrettably, has become a headquarters for more than 40 years. If a country is to give expression to its true commitment to be able to give all of its citizens the opportunity to be exposed to all of the areas of the arts and to have the ability to function and to cooperate with each other, we don't know where the synergies are going to come from. Our responsibility as a government is to create that space, and we shall do so by not only ensuring that the National Cultural Foundation's headquarters becomes a central part of the Queen's Park facility, but that there be opportunities for synergies in the visual arts and the performing and creative arts generally, while at the same time creating a space for speaking in the form of an amphitheater, in recognition of the fact that that great Pan-Africanist Marcus Messiah Garvey was one of those persons who found comfort in the heart of Queen's Park to be able to spread the message of liberation when he visited Barbados in October of 1937. But it doesn't stop there again. The work is almost finished at Constitution River with the thanks of the assistance of the Caribbean Development Bank, which will see the Constitution River and its banks completely enhanced, befitting of this city. And as you know, we made investments into the fountains, which will become a more permanent feature of Bridgetown once those works are completed. The government is committed as well to moving beyond Fairchild Street to the River Road bus stand and to ensure that that area of vending, Mr. Member of Parliament, the new Member of Parliament for the City of Bridgetown, Mr. Lane, that area of vending between River Road bus stand and the Fairchild Street bus terminal will also be transformed into an area befitting of the class of vendors that now occupy it. And I say so as the leader of a government whose first piece of legislation after we became a parliamentary republic was the passage of the new Vending Act that created a new deal for vendors in this country after centuries of oppression and centuries of being regarded as outsiders in the commercial relations in this country. I hope that the lead which the government has sent with the passage of that new legislation will see the Barbados Association of Vendors being formally included in the Barbados Private Sector Association rather than being an outsider organization looking in the country of their birth. The time has come for them to be at the table too as equal private sector members in this country. Similarly, the old town hall building used to have a balcony. And if we are to be true to its heritage, then we need to also ensure that some of the architectural and historic integrity of some of our buildings in Bridgetown is restored. Our government is committed to that restoration. We've also committed publicly to take the old Sugar Bond and to have that building repurposed also for part of the new economy. And I'm happy to say that discussions are very much now fully in place for that building and its new purposes, especially coming from our trip out of the Middle East within the last week. At an appropriate time, I will speak to those details because I do not believe in speaking before things are ready. But suffice it to say that I am confident that the investments that now have to be made in the rest of the city, be it in the old Sugar Bond, be it in the establishment of the hotel that we want to see obliquely opposite Kensington. The government has committed to the removing of the government procurement department, or what we used to call the old central purchasing building and headquarters, from that site to another site in Bridgetown, so as to allow us to be able to maximize the use of that land on the water for tourism and hotel purposes, and in conjunction with what is the third best known iconic cricket ground globally, Kensington Oval, as its anchor, so that we may work, I hope, with Kensington and those who have helped to bring honor and glory to Barbados' cricket and Kensington to ensure that we have an appropriate expression of what is possible when we take our history and combine it also with those economic activities that we believe can cause our current generation and future generations to earn. We haven't only stopped there. We believe that the BIDC building can be more appropriately used where it is at the center of our port, at the gate of our port, for other purposes rather than simply administration. And my government is therefore committed to its relocation and to ensure that we can use other iconic expressions of Barbadian achievement to be able to have our tourism industry better extract higher value added from those tourists, almost 1 million a year, who visit on the cruise ships to our country. We are in discussions with the government of Guyana for the establishment of a gold exchange, because we are conscious, as I said in the budget, that almost 2 million people visit our country every year, and therefore we are in a better position to be able to provide a market for gold with respect to that, and to that extent, therefore, Bridgetown will also house that facility for a gold exchange, ensuring that there is greater economic activity brought to our capital city. My friends, that does not leave out Baxter's Road or Bassett Road, both of which, having been previously been the subject of facelifts, are in bad need of a facelift again. And to that extent, the Urban Development Commission is committed to ensuring that the people and vendors of Bassett Road, as well as Baxter's Road, are not left out of this equation. Nor are we leaving out, Sir Hilary, the buildings on Gemmett's Lane. And suffice it to say that you may find that you will not be the only university in Bridgetown very soon. I say all of these things because the repurposing of our old buildings is a commitment which we have. But we're repurposing them while at the same time seeking to repurpose our economy. Our economy cannot continue only to be based on tourism alone, as we know. And if we had any doubts about it, the example of 2020 with the decline of tourism and travel dependent countries in every respect globally by at least double-digit figures reinforces in us the need for us to be able to benefit financially and economically from new industry. What you are doing here in this building with the BSc in software engineering and with the Center for Innovation will only help us achieve that. But I say to the university, our commitment and confidence in you, yes, was first exemplified by our commitment to restore fees, restore the payment of fees for our students when we became the government in 2018. And we stand here tonight happy that the enrollment at Cave Hill has increased by almost 50% because of that single act on the part of this government, in spite of being in an IMF program, in spite of having to face the challenges of a climate crisis, in spite of the ashfall, and in spite, regrettably, of a 2-year pandemic that has engulfed all of us and that has caused major, major damage financially and economically to us. And why? We remain committed to the fact that our people will only succeed if given the opportunities to be educated. Full stop. If we are going to produce global citizens with Bajan roots, then we must do 2 things. One, we must educate them in the traditional sense of the word, but 2, we must sensitize them to the other things that are necessary for a successful passage through life. And those other things go from civility right back through to participation in the communities and the societies within which they function. People cannot only extract from a society, but they must put back into the society. And therefore, I support, Winston, Mr. Chairman, your comments about the fact that not only large businesses must see it as their commitment to contribute back to this university and to this society, but also small ones too. My government sent that very clear message when we said to the students, we shall pay your fees, but we expect you to give back. And Operation Give Back must be at the center of our continued relationship in this country. For there are others who are not as lucky as those who are attending university or the other tertiary institutions that we have, and for whom your giving back will make the difference between the kind of life that they have or the kind of things that they can do, largely because you are then helping us as a developing nation be able to ensure that we can reach as many of our people as possible in as many areas that they need to be reached. It is against that backdrop that I return to my statements at the Campus Council 2 years ago that says that we have to look at the repurposing of a lot of the offerings that we have at university to ensure that they align with our national development policy. And we have said so in terms of even just looking at the names of our ministries. Elderly affairs. Barbados is an aging population. How are we going to provide better services and to ensure that we can manage our development better, given the fact that our labor force is likely to decline in 12 years' time? And therefore, the issue of the stability of pensions and our social security system is a matter of grave concern. We are a society that has one of the highest incidents of obesity, childhood obesity, and adult obesity, and it is against that backdrop that I say to the soft drink and sweetened drinks manufacturers that our tax is not intended to penalize them, but it is intended to save our people. And we want to save our people by ensuring that they have less access to sugar, because we simply cannot carry the cost anymore of the level of diabetes, hypertension, and other chronic NCDs that are engulfing this nation. When I see the numbers with respect to dialysis and the extent and pace at which they are growing, believe you me, I would be committing an act of treason if I do not insist on us reducing our reliance on sugar in this country. We believe that those firms should continue to make money because we recognize that not everybody wants to drink water. I like water. I like to mind my own business too. But we recognize that there is a role for them. And I'd like to suggest that the easiest way to deal with that is by reducing the level of sugar in our drinks. People may complain for the first month or two, but like everything else, they will get accustomed to it. Mobby is good for you without all of that sugar too. And we will soon, Dr. Corbin, I'm sure you will tell me that most things that are bitter are better for the body. In addition to that, we believe that there's also room for us to look at financial literacy. And I heard Ms. Tanis, but to remind her that when the government established the trust loan program, one of the key commitments that we've made is that there must be a program of financial literacy that every Barbadian who is a child or an adult will be exposed to with age-appropriate curriculum being developed. And why? Because with the best will in the world, we are only going to succeed if we create opportunities for our people. And regrettably, as I've said over and over, and I see bankers in the room, a return of 0.05% on savings cannot be a return that even keeps up with inflation. And to that extent, we need to be able to mobilize more of our savings as individuals and collectively in order to help build out this nation and this region. And I say this region because I do not believe that we should be putting all of our eggs in one basket. And to that extent, the opportunities for investment in Guyana and across the entire Caribbean community are those that we should be consumed with and not just looking at here alone. Similarly, renewable energy and those other things that are necessary for us to fight the climate crisis. So Hillary, I know of your commitment to be able to have this university be a center for global excellence in the battle against climate. And I say so tonight, conscious that we've lost one of our key champions, Dr. Hugh Seeley, who will be buried, I believe, tomorrow, but who, between Sermes and his work with the government of Barbados, it will be difficult to replace, given his knowledge and his commitment over the last few decades to this battle against climate. Of course, the creative economy university has, in the last 10 to 15 years, sought to position itself both with the creative economy and sports, but we must now do so with a laser-like fashion. In my budget speech, I spoke about the importance of cricket and road tennis as industries for export, particularly to Africa. Africa has the same size population as India, but Africa has the demographic dividend that India had coming in even greater numbers. Africa, in many countries, there is a notion of cricket in Ghana and Rwanda and Kenya, and we have now to ensure that we are the ones, particularly from this little nation state that has distinguished itself per capita more than any other region in the world in the game of cricket, that we lead that effort. And I believe that there can be no better partner in leading that effort than with the University of the West Indies at the Cave Hill campus. So my friends, I've tried to outline that when we speak about repurposing old buildings and repurposing an old economy, that this is not just rhetoric, that this is the work of the government, and we want it to be the work of all Barbados, from the private sector in its formal fashion to the private sector in its indigenous fashion as vendors to the individuals in our country. And if we can do that, in spite of the fact that we live in a very difficult and uncertain world, in spite of the fact that the world is virtually consumed with crisis after crisis after crisis, then I believe that this little nation will find its way through these difficult times, and we are showing it step by step by step by the innovation that is also being expressed in other areas. That we can have the greatest cricketer of all time, as Sir Garfield Sobers, the Right Excellent Sir Garfield Sobers, does not go unnoticed. That it has now been matched by one of the greatest entrepreneurs and artists of all time in the form of our own Rihanna is also not unnoticed. But that we can continue to do it because there are others who may not have achieved the same level of fame, but who equally have played as significant a role. Alan Emtage, who was the person who discovered Archie, the first search engine in the world before all of the other great things we're doing. If it can be done once, if it can be done twice, if it can be done thrice, then of course this university and this country can ensure that it can be done many, 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 many more times if we create the environment within which that innovation and creativity can be allowed to prosper. That is the commitment of my government. That is, I believe, the commitment of this university. And if we can continue to partner with entities in the private sector, whether it be Sagicor or those who are much smaller, then I believe, my friends, that we will create the opportunities for our citizens in a way that is tangible. This city of Bridgetown is special. It's special to all of us. And I hope and pray that the continued work of this government, which will not only be looking at the buildings, but will also be looking at the reorganization of the traffic flow of this town, that we will have within a few years a city that will essentially have its values kept intact, but will have a very different look and will have a very different feel. And that rather than walking out and wondering who else out there on the road, that it will be a buzz with activity 24/7, because that is the commitment we have made to make this the city of choice in the Americas. It houses the oldest synagogue in the Americas. It houses the third oldest parliament in the Americas, but it must become a city for the future if it is to survive. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Madam Prime Minister. And whenever I hear the Madam Prime Minister speaks, the vision for Barbados is always very clear. And Madam Prime Minister has always been a very ardent champion for the UWI, as well as for the Capel campus. Whenever we're at the Capel campus, I always say, welcome home. So I'm not going to have to say welcome to your new home, Madam Prime Minister. But I also want to touch on two things. One of the ways that you can drive growth in any economy is through innovation. And this is what this event tonight is about, innovation. And just outside, you're going to see two projects that I think sort of indicate the type of innovation that you can have at the Capel campus. You spoke about diabetes. We have a diabetes reversal project that we're working with Export Barbados on. And I think that is something that can generate significant income for Barbados and also deal with those issues that you mentioned. We also have a project looking at how do we generate biofuels from sargassum and the waste from the rum industry as well. And this is coming out of the research from our lecturers as well as students at the Capel campus. So, Madam Prime Minister, thank you very much on behalf of the students at the Capel campus. And the Capel campus, as usual, is willing to give back in terms of the innovation here at the Cave, here in Barbados. Now, I know the Prime Minister has to leave to attend another event. You can obviously understand her travel schedule, and she's still working, so let's allow her to proceed to her next event, and we'll give her some updates. So let's continue. Please have a seat. There's also one really important statement I have to make. I'm looking right into the camera. Hopefully my wife is watching. The Prime Minister said that she likes my beard, so I now have to keep this beard. It is now in the interests of Barbados for me to keep this beard, so I'll be keeping this beard going forward. I want to thank all of our previous speakers for setting the stage for tonight's discussion forum. At this time, I ask you to direct your attention to the monitors that flank the stage for a brief video presentation on the BSc Software Engineering Program. This will be immediately followed by a discussion on the program, which will be led by co-moderators, Dr. Michelle Gittins, Head Department of Computer Science, Mathematics, and Physics, as well as Mr. Justin Seal, Assistant Registrar based in Suzhou, China. The presentation will showcase linkages between the programs offered at the UWI and the private sector in Barbados and how these programs can benefit both parties.
Hello, I'm Dr. Wendy Seeley of the Virtual Nursing Education and Research Academy. We are the online solution for every nurses and student nurses needs. The virtual platform of the Academy will provide online services in the areas of conferences, webinars, mentoring, and special resources for you. We are affordable, accessible, we meet you where you are, and we are your solution for the future. The Virtual Nursing Education and Research Academy is a one-stop shop which you must take advantage of. We're looking forward to seeing you soon.
Hello and good evening to all. I want to recognize each of you here. The Honorable Davidson Ishmael, Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology. Our Prime Minister would have just left just now, but of course we would recognize her presence as well. All members of Cabinet, His Excellency Yan Shusheng, Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, Professor Hilary Beckles, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Paul Altman, Chairman, Cave Hill Campus Council, Professor Clive Landis, our Principal at the Cave Hill Campus, Mr. Rommel Carter, who is our Campus Registrar, Ms. Lisa Aline, who is our Campus Bursar, Mr. Paul Innes, Executive Vice President and General Manager, Sagicor Life Inc., Barbados Operations, Mrs. Tricia Tanis, Chairman, Private Sector, Barbados Private Sector Association, Mr. Justin Seal, who is with us from China, as you can see, UWI Assistant Registrar, BSc in Software Engineering Program in China, Deans, Heads of Departments, including my Dean, Dr. Janice Badnock, members of the campus community, representatives of the private sector, specially invited guests, and members of the media, as well as our online audience, ladies and gentlemen. I am your moderator for the discussion. I am Dr. Michelle Gittins, and as you can see on our monitors, we have joining us all the way from Suzhou in China. I want to welcome Mr. Justin Seal and our industry guests. And sitting with me on the podium here, or on the stage here, is Mr. Andrew Lewis, who is one of our distinctive graduates of the year 2020 of the software engineering program, and we'll be chatting with him in a bit. I'm going to hand you over now to Mr. Justin Seal. Justin?
Thank you so much, Dr. Gittins. Greetings to everyone. Greetings to members of the private sector. Greetings to my colleagues from the university, and greetings to those in the public sector. I'd like you to take a moment to imagine what happens when you move from the Caribbean, the relaxed shores of the Caribbean, to the full cultural immersion in China to finish your degree. Can you imagine what that would be like? The final 2 years of our program emphasize application of master concepts and skills in a hyper-connected digital environment. For our students, this is a new climate, a new culture, and a new language. Of course, this is quite a challenge. In addition, a unique challenge exists for our female students who are striving to succeed in this male-dominated industry. We are especially proud of the career success of our alumna, Miss Tessa John. Let's hear her story.
My name is Tessa John, and I'm a national from the country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I first came to UWI to do information technology, but along the way, I kind of lost my passion. I was also a Sir Arthur Lewis awardee, and under that award, I was also presented with the opportunity of doing software engineering. And the main thing that stuck out to me was the opportunity to come to China to study for the last 2 years of my undergraduate course. And now that I'm here, a lot of the doubts I had in my mind, they have been diminished. It turns out that I'm really good at what I'm doing. I have a really strong passion for design.
Thank you, that was Tessa. I need to add an update to that video. Tessa has since graduated, and she's currently residing in Kingston, Jamaica, where she's working as a quality assurance specialist. So we're proud to hear from her and get that feedback from her right now. As a society, we recognize and honor the act of giving back. And the Prime Minister has mentioned this in her remarks. The ethos of giving back is enshrined in the policy of the Ministry of Education, which came into effect in 2018. The fear caused by the initial outbreak of the pandemic spurred a group of our students to organize in service of the public. They recognize the importance of our government's ability to provide support for its citizens who may be abroad during a period of international crisis. We will hear more on this from our former ambassador to Beijing and our current permanent representative of Barbados to the United Nations in New York, His Excellency Francois Jatman. I'm sorry.
Hello there. Hi, my name is. Oh, yes.
Hi, John. I'm sorry, we got the transition there incorrect. You're supposed to hear from His Excellency Mr. Francois Jatman, but he seems to be unavailable at this time. Let's go on then to the next segment. We'll talk about the private sector involvement in Suzhou. And now that we have Mr. Ik here with us, I'm very glad to welcome him. What's up with yourself, Mr. Ik?
Hi there. Hi. So my name is John Yik. After graduating with a master's degree in computer science back in 2010, I moved to London to work at a leading fintech company dealing in mergers and acquisitions. When I moved back to China in 2011, I set up my company straight away, and using my network I built out in London, I started getting work from there. My company now has 2 branches dealing in professional services for my customers, which include the Fortune 500 And my second branch is focused on developing the next generation document management solution, which we're calling My Own Document Vault, which uses blockchain technology as well as AI to securely analyze content.
Well, that's fascinating, John. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd like to find out a little bit more about your journey. Can you share with us what got you involved in entrepreneurship? What was the thinking there? Was it something that you've had from the time you were born, or is it something that you developed as you got on to university?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in starting up a company, which is why I took the opportunity as soon as I arrived into China. It has been something that's ingrained, like my parents, they run their own business, and that's where I believe it came from.
That sounds great. So then, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit. What is your impression of our UWI students? And for context, John is one of our internship partners here in Suzhou. He has taken in 2 cohorts of our students successively as interns in his organization. So thank you for that, John. What's your impression of our graduates? What do you think?
So I think the UWI students are great. They're very hardworking and resourceful, even though this year has been a hard year because the entire internship has been done remotely. It just meant more emphasis has been put on developing software remotely using technologies such as Slack and Zoom.
This is fascinating. Okay, so because it's remote, you can see the challenge there, but there's also a benefit. It means then that we can set a framework for an entire software engineering sector in Barbados and the economy in Barbados, whereby our students and our not only our graduates, but others as well, can stay on our lovely sandy shores and are able to work remotely for the biggest tech companies in the world. So I think you have a model there of engagement that we'd like to find out more about, and we can probably discuss it a little bit after this forum. Thank you for sharing that. I'll move on with another devil's advocate question. Please indulge me. If you were a student or a graduate from this program, the current global market, what would you do next?
So personally, I would either go into the field of cryptographics or AI. Both of these fields are showing a lot of innovations and they are very exciting. My next steps would be to either pursue a postgraduate position or to get an internship at a small company. And the reason for a small company is because everyone needs to know all the tasks because there is no specific person to do a specific task.
All right, so pretty much a trial by fire then. But I can see how there can be significant national growth there. All right. What else would you say to a student who may not be so sure that they want to be in this field? Or what would you say to their parents? I know you mentioned that your parents have been supportive of you wanting to start your own business. Traditionally in the Caribbean, a lot of our parents would encourage us to get into things that may be more stable, you know, medicine, etc. And there's nothing to not medicine. We have outstanding medical professionals. Our principal is an outstanding medical professional in the Caribbean. So what would you say then to parents who may have that view, or to students rather, whose parents have that view, but they're trying to overcome that and break into this new sector, this new economy? What would you say? What would you share?
So I would say that it is a very good idea to get into the new sectors at the start. And for parents to actually facilitate that and to help their child pursue in something that they would enjoy to actually learn. Because you have to enjoy the field to actually be able to exceed in it.
Yes, we have to enjoy it, but then how do we speak about financial opportunities after? What do you think about that?
Of course. So for me personally, it is always, I have to do something that I enjoy first. Money would always come second. And you have to enjoy what you're doing before you actually go ahead and make the money.
You have a point there as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ick, and thank you very much, Mr. Seal. Those are some interesting insights, and as you said, you must enjoy what you're doing. And we know that software engineering is a very interesting field, and we know that there are several different areas that can come out of it. So definitely, I want to endorse what you've said. So I know we are sitting here and we are hearing about the program in software engineering, but I just wanted as well to just give an overview of what the program is like in itself. So As you would have heard, we actually have 2 years here in Barbados at Cave Hill campus. And actually, this is a program that's offered at our 3 campuses, at Mona as well as St. Augustine. But you do 3 years here, 2 years here, and then 2 years in China at GIST. This is where Mr. Seal is. And in that last year of the 2 years there, this is where Mr. Ick and others like him, partners to the university and with GIST, will come in for that internship. So I want to thank Mr. Ick for continuing to employ many of our students. I know that they're getting some valuable experience over there with you in Suzhou. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we look forward to continuing to talk to you and continuing to engage you as we send more students over. We also wanted to just share that the program itself is, as Mr. Seal would have said, it is an immersion as well in Chinese culture. So you would have seen the students making dumplings, and I was asking Andrew if he can make dumplings. Can you make dumplings, Andrew?
Of course I can.
So I particularly like Chinese dumplings, so I'll have to give him a call. And they were doing Tai Chi and so on, but they also have to learn Chinese. And I know that our students currently are doing an internship with a Chinese company, and they have to speak in Mandarin. And it's not really a have to, it is something where we are developing them for the international workforce. And I know that our students are rising to the opportunity and rising to the challenge. Mr. Seal, is there anything you wanted to add on that?
Most definitely. The world is developing. The world is shrinking as it develops. And one of the key things that we may not acknowledge or may not realize because of this vast size of China is that they will need software engineers to help build out their future as well.
Yes,
so
most
there is
definitely.
an opportunity for a mutual win between our partner, China, and Barbados to help each other, to prepare each other for our digital needs in the future.
Yes, thank you very much. So as we continue, I'm going to invite the young man that's sharing the stage here with me. His name is Mr. Andrew Lewis. And as we were coming in, some people thought that they might be related to him. He was probably related to past senior management at the university because he shares a name. But I want to just hand it over to him and let him tell you. He is from the class, the graduating class of 2020. So I'd like to hear from him about his experiences on this program.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to you all here. All right, so first of all, I was asked early on what made me pick the program. Well, timing was everything, as you know. I had just finished secondary school, just got accepted into UWI for another degree. And at that point in time, I actually had taken a interest into computer science outside of school. And then my dad showed me an ad in newspaper about this brand new program and had 2 very interesting aspects, mobile development and 2 years studying in China. How could we say no? All right, so it wasn't as, grand at first. I obviously came to realize it wouldn't be a picnic. I had some challenges myself, my lack of effectiveness in teams and in communication. And I soon realized that those were major parts in the course of the program. But I realized that with the help of my colleagues, I soon overcame them, and I didn't even remember them at the end. From teamwork in Barbados, teaming up across campuses to the Mona campus in Jamaica, as well as when we went to China and we found a new environment, a new language, and new people, of course. All of it seemed to go away. Right, so as we were in China, the experience was so surreal, being so far from home, but at the end of it, it was really a different experience in terms of the way things work so easily. From buying things online to ordering food to calling a cab before even ever leaving our homes. we realized that, the possibilities of what we could achieve in a program by developing similar applications, similar technology that is available in China. Even the language barriers seem to fade away as we learn a bit more Chinese, and we use the main app WeChat to kind of translate during our everyday explorations. All right. So as I came back home, I realized that, after going through the program, everything seemed to open up the opportunities, the careers, based on what we've learned, the different development languages, the skills, the aspects of the software development life cycle. I know that doesn't mean much to here, but a lot of companies are grasping for new employees with that knowledge. It makes everything so much clearer, especially the aspect of having a certification in the program. The program actually allows you to explore different options for that, which employees, are not employees, employers are looking for in their new employees. So ultimately, I really appreciated the connections, the colleagues that helped me to go through the program. Without them, it would have been a very different experience. From everyday life in the dorms to making sure that we all kept up with our classes, going out and exploring. It all, gave me a passion for exploring different challenges, any challenges that came my way, even in my work life now as I came back home. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you very much, Andrew. So I think that what we're seeing here is that this is the kind of program that stretches you, but the development is a positive one. And at the end of it, you can say, you can tell others about the experience, and it's a positive one that they would want to experience as well. And definitely for employers, having you go on that international stage, see what is out there, and then come back to Barbados and bring your experience, I think it is something that's invaluable. So thanks a lot, Andrew. All right. So we are now going to hear from Andrew's employer, actually, Mr. Jerry DeCaries from the Crane. And Mr. DeCaries is not able to be with us, so he sat with me a little earlier, actually last week, and just shared with me the experience he's had with our students. So I'm going to just ask for that video. Mr. DeCaries, I want to thank you for taking the time today to talk to me about your experience with our students at the university or from the University of the West Indies, those who have completed our software engineering program. This is Mr. Jerry DeCaries from the Crane here in Barbados. And so, Mr. DeCaries, I'm going to ask you to just tell us a little bit about the Crane, the business of the Crane, and how software development students fit into your organization.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure. The Crane is a 300-key resort on the east coast of Barbados, and it's what's called a mixed-use property. So we have transient guests as well as timeshare or partial ownership, and it's quite a large property with many restaurants and facilities. And we took a stance a couple of years ago to try to bring technology to the forefront of everything at the Crane. So when UWI reached out through Mr. Justin Field, who had these two interns who were in China and coming back to Barbados, we were happy to bring them on. The project that we had in mind in particular was to help us revamp our mobile app.
Okay.
And our two students, Tessa and Andrew, came in. I got to meet them once. That was the 12th of March, and then COVID. And I haven't seen either one of them ever again. So they worked with me Andrew's actually still with us.
Yes.
But they worked with us for about 6 months on this mobile app project.
Oh, okay. Okay. So understanding that such a well, a large company, as you said, because you did speak about the resort, and I think many of us here know it's quite a nice resort and offering a lot of services. So I'm happy to hear that they were able to assist with your mobile app development project. And the other thing I'm happy to hear is that you took a stance to do development here in the Caribbean.
Always.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so I mean, the question that follows on from that, and you did say that Andrew is still with you, is how did you find working with our students? And I'm going to just put that out there, and I'm going to leave you to answer as you choose.
They were a pleasure to work with and really very energetic. First job out of school, I guess you want to impress, but there was nothing that we asked them to do that they didn't say, okay, and they went away and they came back and they've done it
Very
one
good.
way or another. And you know, anybody who's done any sort of coding knows that there are 1,000 ways to do things. And when you're trying to find the right one, it can often be challenging. But they pushed themselves hard and came up with some really amazing solutions for us for problems. And it wasn't an easy ask, but they did it. They did it very well. And you know, I'm really pleased with what we're working with them.
Very good, very good. And so, I mean, we are recording this before the event, but we do have Andrew and Tessa with us, and I'm sure they're going to share some of their experiences as well. So I'm happy to hear that they were, I mean, they're young, so they should be energetic.
Yes.
But apart from that, attitude seemed to be the key, and they also seem to be well prepared for the job, which is something that at the University of the West Indies we're very is very important to us. Now, the other question I want to ask, you did say that you would have found out about them through Mr. Justin Seal, but I am hoping that this is a relationship that we can continue to build.
Well, I need 3 more developers right now.
Okay.
So if you've got 3 that are ready to come, I'm ready to have a conversation. I do not believe in outsourcing development. You have to know your environment in order to code for your environment. It's the way I look at it. So I think in the future, we're willing and more than happy to continue doing this every year.
Okay, okay. And that's exactly what I want to hear. As you know, I'm head of the Computer Science, Math, and Physics Department, under which the SPEN program falls, under which the Computer Science program falls. And so, you know, we are very interested in engaging with industry such as yourself. And, you know, we will obviously have further discussions, not just about the hiring of graduates, but also curriculum development and that kind of thing. So thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to me today. And thanks a lot for taking the time to nurture our students, because what you do at the Crane in terms of giving them that realistic experience is what helps to develop them into the graduates that we can all be proud of. Yourself as a Barbadian, and also from the university perspective as graduates. So thanks so much, Mr. DeCaries.
You're most welcome.
I have to definitely say thanks to Mr. DeCaries again. He was, you know, basically on his way, making arrangements for his trip. And he said, I'm going to make time for this. And I think it is a testimonial, actually, to Andrew and Tessa and those who have worked for him, that he would say, I have to make the time to make this statement. So I also now want to just share with you that you know, we are interested in having industry engage with us. You would have heard from Mr. Ick, you would have heard from Mr. DeCaries, and there are many more. Mr. DeCaries made it clear that he is willing and ready to hire more developers. So I know industry is represented here. What Mrs. Tanis said would have resonated with us. So we want to work with industry to continue to develop, as well as to deliver to you graduates that can do what we need to do for Barbados and the region. So I also want to share now 2 more videos with you, short videos from our current students, 2 current students who will be our graduates this year. So they are Clem Francis and Shanice Cato. And I want to say as well that though we are here at Cave Hill, you know we are a Caribbean university, and Ms. Cato and Mr. Francis are from St. Vincent.
大家好, my name is Clem Francis, one of the students pursuing a degree in mobile software engineering at the Cave Hill campus. My story is rather interesting. I left my island home in the wake of Hurricane Maria and soon found myself at the Cave Hill campus in this program. I admit, I was pretty hesitant at first. I had no formal background in anything computer science related, but I was still determined to succeed. The program challenged me to push myself, so I had to learn books, past students, and the internet. May the Lord bless Stack Overflow to succeed. Docker, Hadoop, Flutter, Kotlin, and Chinese are just the top of the stack that I had to master. I even managed to overcome the challenges of group work, often taking the role of group leader and the role of multiple group members. I now stand here with a GPA over 4.0, several GPA and Dean's awards, and I'm now at the cusp of high SciTech student. On reflection, Confucius is right. 千里之行，始于足下。谢谢。
大家好, I'm Shanice Cato. I heard about this program through an alumni. At the time, I was looking for a program that would mix my love of computers with creativity, and I thought, aha, software engineering is it. During the course of the program, however, I did face many struggles, such as many group projects, and having to lead or work alongside members. However, there was a positive. I do now see the value of learning to communicate with like-minded and non-like-minded members and coming together to come up with great solutions. Now I can't wait to use my knowledge in programming languages and frameworks such as Kotlin, React, Python, and Django, as well as other skills such as software modeling and project management, and bringing them into my new but promising career as a software engineer.
So you see that we are turning out diverse, a diverse group of students, and as a female in technology, it warms my heart to see Tessa and Shanice also striving and achieving in this field. Mr. Seal, did you want to add anything?
To add, I'm just very impressed with our 2 young people who just showed their videos, and I'm very happy to see Andrew again since 2020. The last time we saw each other, it was the break of the pandemic, and I know there was a lot of fear, but it's great to see Andrew doing well now. I'm happy and proud of every single one of our students.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seal. I think, you know, we spend our time developing these young people, and I agree with you. It definitely gives us a good feeling when we see how far they have come. I want to share with you as well, since I have industry in front of me, that we have a number of excellent programs at the University of the West Indies. And when our students finish their undergraduate programs, they can progress on to our master's program. And the Faculty of Science and Technology is doing, is making strides and breaking new ground. And we have a program called our Master's, our MSc in IT. And we offer courses there, including those in cloud computing, in big data. We have a blockchain course, and we will be doing some machine learning. So I want you to know that the University of the West Indies is delivering what you need, and we definitely want to have those conversations with you as you continue to support us and continue to support our students. So I just wanted to thank you again for taking the time to listen to us sharing about our program in software engineering. I'm seeing the hand go go up there. I'm not supposed to tell you that, but I can see it. And so I want to thank you for taking the time to share and listen to what we have to offer. I want to thank Mr. Ick. I know it's breakfast time. I hope you were able to get your breakfast before you came and sat with us. And I know some of us here are going to have our dinner now. But we want to reach out to our students to be. We want to get more students coming into our faculty, into our Department of Computer Science, Math, and Physics, into our Bachelor's of Software Engineering program. And as you can see, you have the opportunity, like Mr. Lewis, to grow. And I think that's important because life is a journey, and at the end of it, we want to make sure that we have made a mark. And we know that technology, we are sitting here talking to somebody who is ahead of us by 12 hours. And this is what software engineering does. So we want to encourage our students to come with us, go on this journey, and change your life. And I want to just hand it over to Mr. Seal for the last word.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gittins. I would reiterate everything you have said so eloquently, and I would also add to the private sector and the public sector, please join us. Join us, please support us in any tangible way where we can have the resources, we can have the acumen to train our young people to help get us ready for a digital future in the Caribbean. Some of our students in the middle of the pandemic, they worked on a Give Back project with our former ambassador to Beijing, Ambassador Jackman, who is now our ambassador to the UN in New York. And for no academic credit, they came up with this registration portal in the middle of the mental strain and anguish of the initial outbreak of a pandemic, so that Barbadians can register online if they're abroad in the need of assistance in an emergency. So this is one tangible way that we are trying to serve the needs of our community, our CARICOM community, our local community. So please join us so that we can help make this more sustainable and we can help make your business more profitable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seal. Thank you very much, Mr. Yick. And thanks to our audience for sharing this experience with us. We look forward to having continued productive conversations with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that presentation. One of the things that I always tell persons about the software engineering program is that those graduates are problem solvers. You give them any problem and they solve it. At the K-Phil campus, we had an issue a couple of years ago in relation to telling the students where exactly all the shuttles are at any particular point in time. So you don't want to be standing at a location waiting for a shuttle 5 hours when you could probably be, liming with your friends in town. Or maybe in the library. So what we did, we gave this problem to those software engineering students. They developed a solution to using just cell phones to tell students where exactly all of the shuttles are at any particular point in time. And that is the type of things, those are the type of products that those graduates can produce. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is a really interesting program that we need to get behind. The registration in that program, unfortunately, has been somewhat below what we expected. And one of the issues that explains that is because of the costs related to that program. Simply purchasing the airline ticket to travel to China is a little bit beyond the means of some potential students. So what we're looking for are potential partners to help those students to make that first step in relation to becoming a software engineer. So if you're interested in partnering with the campus in this area, please get in contact with us in the Business Development Office or the Office of Student Affairs, and we would love to have a further discussion with you. Now, our AAA strategic plan is the vision that really guides what we're doing here this evening. The AAA represents access, alignment, and agility. Under Pillar 3, alignment or objective is to promote greater activism and public advocacy, increase and improve academic industry research partnerships, and promote a cohesive single UE brand consciousness. It's under this pillar that we have located our push to build an entrepreneurial university. And by an entrepreneurial university, we mean one that supports the development of existing entrepreneurs in Barbados, both large and small, and the Eastern Caribbean, as well as leveraging the innovation of our students and faculty to form spin-off companies and commercialize patents that are developed. I want to thank all of the speakers and our audience, both in person and in online viewing through UWI TV, from Cayman Islands to Trinidad and Tobago. The UWI has a lot to offer, and we are open to partnerships. If you'd like to follow up, I encourage you to get in contact with Ms. Sonia Johnson, our Business Development Officer, or any member of the Office of Business Development. The team is on hand, very small, but they work very hard in the foyer to answer any questions you may have. This event would not have been possible without the cooperation and collaboration of a number of individuals and offices. Once again, we express our thanks to all of our speakers for their insightful remarks. I would also like to thank the teams in the Office of the Principal, the Office of the Campus Registrar, Institutional Planning and Infrastructural Services, the Office of Marketing and Communications, UWI TV for the live streaming services, the Office of Business Development, who created the digital displays on innovation at the Cayfield campus, Ms. Halcyon Wiltshire Busby, Campus Records Manager for the poster retrospective, the Director and team of Campus Security, the UWI Ushers and wider planning committee for this event, and we also especially thank our external service providers of Field Tech Station Solutions for the setup and decor, and the Royal Barbados Police Service for their facilitation in the areas of parking and traffic control. To all our colleagues, students, and of course, our especially invited guests from the private sector, we thank you for your attendance and involvement. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings an end to our live stream proceedings, and thank you for watching, and we wish you a good night.